The day everyone laughed at Rowan Mercer, they believed they were watching the end of his story. A young single father carrying his sleepy little daughter in one arm and a cardboard box of personal belongings in the other didn't look like someone destined for success. He looked exhausted, defeated, and forgotten. What they didn't know was that the strongest people often build their greatest victories from the ruins of their hardest days. Years later, the very people who doubted him would stand frozen at the doorway of his office, unable to believe the truth staring back at them. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, hard work, and second chances can change lives, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to HeartLine Stories for more emotional stories that stay with you long after they end. It was a bright Monday morning when Rowan's life seemed to collapse. The city outside buzzed with energy, but inside the corporate office where he had spent nearly 8 years proving himself, everything changed in a single meeting. Budget cuts had become the convenient excuse, and Rowan's name appeared on the list. Some co-workers offered polite smiles, but others quietly whispered that it was inevitable. They believed a man raising a child alone would never keep up with the demands of the corporate world. They assumed his constant balancing between daycare calls, school events, sleepless nights, and deadlines had finally caught up with him. They didn't see determination. They only saw limitations. Rowan drove home that afternoon with 6-year-old Ivy sleeping peacefully in the back seat, completely unaware that their future had suddenly become uncertain. As he carried her into their tiny apartment, he looked around the modest living room filled with second-hand furniture, children's drawings taped proudly to the walls, and a kitchen that somehow always smelled like warm pancakes on weekends despite their limited budget. That little apartment wasn't impressive, but it was filled with love. Rowan promised himself that no matter how difficult life became, Ivy would never lose that feeling of safety. The months that followed tested every ounce of strength he possessed. During the day he worked temporary jobs delivering packages, fixing computers, and doing freelance consulting whenever someone gave him a chance. At night, after helping Ivy with homework and reading bedtime stories until she drifted to sleep, Rowan sat at his aging laptop studying business management, finance, and leadership. He wasn't chasing revenge. He was chasing stability, dignity, and a future where his daughter would never doubt her father's ability to protect her dreams. Money became painfully tight. There were evenings when Rowan quietly skipped dinner so Ivy could have her favorite spaghetti without realizing there wasn't enough food for both of them. Birthdays became simple homemade celebrations with hand-decorated cakes instead of expensive parties. Christmas gifts came from thrift stores, carefully restored until they looked brand new. Yet Ivy never complained. She saw a father who smiled even when life hurt, who clapped louder than anyone at her school performances, and who always reminded her that love could never be measured by a price tag. Years passed, and Rowan's persistence slowly opened unexpected doors. A small technology company hired him as an operations consultant after noticing his remarkable problem-solving skills. He treated every challenge like an opportunity. Instead of competing against coworkers, he helped them succeed. Instead of chasing recognition, he focused on building trust. His calm leadership inspired people around him, and before long, promotions followed naturally. While others demanded respect through titles, Rowan earned it through character. The company experienced extraordinary growth. Investors noticed. Employees remained loyal because they felt valued. Customers stayed because promises were always kept. Rowan eventually became Chief Executive Officer, but the title never changed the man he had become through hardship. His office overlooked the city's skyline, yet the most important object on his desk wasn't an award or expensive decoration. It was a faded crayon drawing Ivy had made years earlier showing the two of them holding hands beneath a bright yellow sun. Written across the page were simple words that reminded him why he never gave up: "My dad is my hero." One sunny afternoon, the receptionist informed Rowan that visitors had arrived without an appointment. He looked up from reviewing employee scholarship applications and calmly asked for them to come in. The office door slowly opened. Standing there were three familiar faces from his former company. Time had added gray hair and tired expressions, but Rowan recognized them immediately. They were among those who had quietly mocked him after his dismissal. Back then they believed he would never recover. The silence inside the office felt almost unreal. Their eyes moved across the elegant room before settling on Rowan sitting confidently behind the executive desk. They struggled to hide their disbelief. Everything they had assumed about him had been completely wrong. They had expected to find a broken man. Instead, they found someone whose quiet resilience had transformed every painful setback into a stepping stone. Life had not been as kind to them. Their former employer had eventually closed after years of poor leadership and constant employee turnover. They had heard about Rowan's remarkable success and arrived hoping for an opportunity. Pride had kept them away for months, but desperation finally overcame embarrassment. Rowan listened carefully as they explained their situation. There was no satisfaction in seeing them struggle. He remembered too clearly what hopelessness felt like. The memories of carrying a cardboard box, comforting a frightened little girl, and wondering how to pay next month's rent had left permanent marks on his heart. Those experiences had taught him something far more valuable than success. They had taught him compassion. Instead of holding on to old wounds, Rowan offered each visitor a chance to interview for positions that matched their experience. He made it clear that every employee would be judged only by their work, their integrity, and their willingness to grow. The room filled with quiet emotion. None of them expected forgiveness. Yet Rowan believed that kindness had changed his own life because strangers had once believed in him when he had nothing left. Now it was his turn to become that person for someone else. As the visitors left, Ivy, now a confident university student completing her internship at the company, walked into the office carrying coffee. She noticed the thoughtful expression on her father's face and smiled warmly. Looking around the office, she remembered the tiny apartment, the sleepless nights, the homemade birthday cakes, and every sacrifice her father had quietly made. She realized the greatest achievement wasn't the impressive office or the CEO title. It was the kind of man her father had chosen to become despite every reason to grow bitter. Success had never been about proving others wrong. It had always been about proving that love, perseverance, and kindness are stronger than fear, judgment, and doubt. Rowan's journey became a reminder throughout the company that no one's current struggle defines their future, and that sometimes the people the world overlooks become the very people who inspire it. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to HeartLine Stories. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope around the world. Blue Heart special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe that forgiveness is stronger than revenge and that every person deserves a second chance. As the evening sunlight poured through the office windows, Rowan looked once more at the old crayon drawing on his desk. It reminded him that true success is never measured by wealth, titles, or impressive offices. It is measured by the lives we lift, the hope we give, and the love we refuse to abandon even during our darkest days. And sometimes, the greatest victory is simply becoming the person your child always believed you could be.